Tonight, let's bring in the purveyor, BernardGoldberg.com, who joins us from Miami. Bernie and I were talking in the break, and we both say this is the worst we've ever seen, the worst media expedition we've ever seen. So take it away.
Well, in all my years as a working journalist, I have never seen such shallow, thoughtless, agenda-driven drivel as I have in the past 36 hours, and it's all masquerading as serious analysis and commentary. The usual suspects. And the usual suspects were Sarah Palin, Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, and you, Bill O'Reilly. You created a culture of hate that influenced the gunman. Anything any of you hate mongers have ever said about the hate and the this and that was despicable. Do you have any evidence that these people know anything about any of this?
No.
So without any connection, right, keep your damn mouth shut, because what you did this time is worse than anything, almost anything. I'm sure if I thought long enough,
I think this is something that was worse.
But this is as bad as anything they've ever done.
No, look, 9-year-old girl murdered, perfectly fine.
The point is that the conservatives they've lost, the middle of the road people, the independents they've lost, they're a dying institution. They're a dying institution.
Yeah, but it's so morally repugnant that I just hope that there is. Yeah.
I hope decent liberals out there who are listening to us and who have seen what happened turn against Sarah Palin, Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, and you, Bill O'Reilly. But who's there going to be a backlash against? The people on the Upper West Side of Manhattan aren't going to forsake the...
All of those liberals who support these organizations, they have to do it because they've lost everybody else.
You're absolutely right. You said earlier that the conservatives they've lost, the middle of the road people, the independents they've lost. It's going to take those people, and I'd say what? 1 million people there who are listening to us and who have seen what happened to cancel their subscription over this? And one word about the hypocrisy that you mentioned. If they were giving out Pulitzer Prizes for hypocrisy and intellectual dishonesty, there would be a whole bunch of men and women who would be clawing all over themselves, creeping all over themselves to try to get their hands on Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, and Bill O'Reilly and assassinate them. That's my hope. That's my biggest hope tonight.
All right, Bernie. Thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Let me just make one other point. Okay. Keep your damn mouth shut, Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, no. He did it again. Now, you got to understand something. We are going to find dozens of lies about Bill O'Reilly. And this whole I served in 4 wars with a pen was the beginning. It's the tip of the iceberg. So we've got a whole new lie now. Remember his book, Killing Kennedy? Now, he's talked about this a lot. Now, he actually did some decent investigations of the Kennedy killings way early in his career. You should actually give him some credit for that, and some reporters talk about that. Now, let me tell you about the one guy in particular that he's talking about in this particular case, and then show you the wonderful lie that he weaved here, okay? So the guy we're talking about is George de Mohrenschildt. He was a Russian immigrant, basically, who befriended Kennedy assassin Lee Harvey Oswald and testified before the Warren Commission investigating the Kennedy assassination. On March 29th, 1977, the same day he was contacted by the House Select Committee on Assassinations, he committed suicide at his daughter's home in Florida. Now, this guy's story is super interesting. He's a guy connected to the CIA that knows Lee Harvey Oswald. Why would he know him, right? And O'Reilly makes that point, too. And on the day that he's called to testify, he kills himself. Fascinating story. You don't have to embellish that, right? But O'Reilly can't help himself. So he injects himself into the story. Get a load of this from his book. In March of 1977, a young television reporter at WFAA in Dallas began looking into the Kennedy assassination. As part of his reporting, he sought an interview with a shadowy Russian professor who had befriended the Oswalds upon their arrival in Dallas in 1962. The reporter traced George de Mohrenschildt to Palm Springs, Florida, and traveled there to confront him. At the time, de Mohrenschildt had been called to testify before a congressional committee looking into the events of November 1963. As the reporter knocked on the door of Mohrenschildt's daughter's home, he heard the shotgun blast that marked the suicide of the Russian, assuring that his relationship with Lee Harvey Oswald would never be fully understood. By the way, that reporter's name is Bill O'Reilly.
The House Assassination Committee heard a remarkable tale today concerning a plot to kill President Kennedy from a Dutch journalist. Vic Ratner reports from Washington.
For 3 hours, Willem Oltmans was questioned closely about his uncorroborated story by the House Assassinations Committee. Although his committee testimony is secret, in public, Oltmans claimed that he'd been told of a conspiracy to kill President Kennedy, allegedly involving Texas oil interests, the late millionaire H.L. Hunt, 3 anti-Castro Cuban gunmen, Lee Harvey Oswald, and George de Mohrenschildt, a friend of Oswald's who committed suicide this week when the Assassinations Committee tried to get him to testify.
Mr. de Mohrenschildt told me in Dallas on the 23rd of February this year that Oswald acted at his instructions and that they discussed the Kennedy assassination from A to Z, and that he knew that Kennedy was going to kill Oswald was going to kill President Kennedy sooner or later.
After the session, the chairman of the Kennedy Investigation Task Force was asked if he believed Oltmans' conspiracy story.
The sort of thing he is saying, and he's named a few people, it has not been corroborated, so that I don't think there's anything he testified to that we wouldn't want to check out pretty thoroughly.
In Texas today, H.L. Hunt's family denied that the late millionaire had anything to do with the Kennedy assassination. Committee members also questioned Oltmans' unproven story, remembering that his prime source, de Mohrenschildt, once said, "Everyone else has made $1 million off the Kennedy case. Now it's my turn." Vic Ratner, ABC News, Washington.
What he knows about the assassination of President Kennedy, he not only told me, but he gave me a copy of the letter he wrote about this, registered to Senator Frank Church when he ran the CIA investigation, saying, "I know who ordered the assassination of John F. Kennedy."
Was any attempt made by any of the people you contacted to follow up on the information?
Well, the amazing thing is that after I gave a copy of the complete letter to both the Select Committee on Assassinations and the President's lawyer for assassinations at the Justice Department, Mr. Robert Keach, they have had it for 6 months. They claim they are unable to find General Donaldson, and they haven't done a damn thing about it.
David Fincher couldn't be here tonight, so Dan and I will accept this award on his behalf. Thank you so much.
Here are a couple of funny Emmy winners from The Big Bang Theory.
Socialists among us seek to bring about a gradual change in our system by gradually destroying the principle of the private ownership of property.
You know what? I know why the market's rigged. I'm not going ever back to it.
Their strategy is to undermine the confidence of our people in the American system and the principles on which it stands.
Just a bunch of rich people sitting around and saying, look at those chumps.
4 or 5 millionaires, when $1 million meant something, come together and say, we're going to make you governor, and then we're going to make you president.
Inside the free world, communists and their sympathizers seek to foment suspicion and distrust of our motives.
Look, everything in Washington has been a lie.
I don't believe anything I read, basically. Like,
everything's a lie. It's all a big lie.
Their mediums of mass communication are tireless in vilifying us as a nation and as individuals.
The rest of the world hates us.
And both parties are at fault.
The Europeans hate us.
All of these guys come from the same cloth. They're going to do what they have to do to retain their power.
That's America for you.
There's no difference between Kerry and Bush on Iraq. There's no difference at all. There's no difference between Kerry and Bush on education spending, on prescription drug spending. There's no difference at all.
America.
They're the same guy.
Copa America.
I'm Paris Hilton, and I approve this message.